Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm just continuing our series on our milestones video for building the squat. Today's episode is what I learned in my road to a 600-pound squat. So be sure to stay tuned until the end to see some actual footage from back in my freshman year of college where I PR'd my squat with 640 pounds. That video is the best that I could find with my max being around that 600-pound mark. I'll just say up front, it is in reps because I was training primarily equipped at the time, and that 640-pound squat in reps translated to about a 600-pound squat in knee sleeves for me at the time in that training. So kind of wait till the end and we'll take a look at that video. Now, overall, the time difference between my first 500-pound squat and my first 600-pound squat ends up being about a year and a couple months, I would say. So back in our 500-pound squat video, that was the fall before my senior year of high school, right? And I was hitting that 505-pound squat, and to be honest, it had very suspect depth in light, like Walmart knee wraps, and my form was very unrefined at that point. And as discussed in that video, some of the lessons that I learned on the road to 500 pounds was I learned how to push myself, right? I was learning how to work hard. I was following reasonably well programmed lifting. I was not maxing out every week or every couple weeks by any means. I was trusting the process, and I was starting to fall into love with lifting, basically. Now, in that year and a couple month journey to 600 pounds, the biggest turnover for me was learning how to eat, right? So I was learning I already knew how to push myself from those prior years. And basically my entire senior year of high school was all about getting into powerlifting and finding some nuances to what food could actually do for my training. And then once I got into college, which this video at the end here is going to be, I think it was around November, my freshman year of college. So I had been in school for probably 3 months. We had an all-you-can-eat buffet style food court at school, and I really took advantage of that thing, and that skyrocketed all of my lifts numbers. So the number one thing that I would mention that I learned to do was just eat. And kind of in that same time frame, I'll talk about this more whenever I do the bench video for my first 400-pound bench, but I did the Go Mad challenge, is gallon of milk a day basically, during my senior year, and that bulked me up significantly. So this difference between a 500-pound squat to a 600-pound squat, my body weight was probably 40 pounds or so different. For the 500, I would say I was 220, 230, and for the 600, the 640 you're about to see, I was around 258, if I remember correctly. So, I was just starting to learn that, hey, calories are my friend, and if I put on some body weight, the strength is going to come with it. And I think sometimes just talking to my students in school, a lot of them don't realize how important the food aspect is, and I know I was very much the same. For the longest time in weight training in school, I believed that I performed better for a 1-rep max dehydrated. So the day of my 1-rep maxes, I would just eat salty chips and drink as little as possible, which in hindsight is the worst idea possible. But It's what I believed. And then I got into college and started to have access to this food in like unlimited quantities. Honestly, I would go to the food court, I would scan for one meal, eat it. And I remember my staple for the end of meals was I would have some Fruit Loops with melted vanilla ice cream as the milk. Just to put it in perspective, my bulking ideology was just calories at all cost. Then I would do my homework in the food court, and by the time I was finished with homework, it would be the next meal in the food court. I didn't have to leave and spend a meal, and then I would eat another round of food before I would leave. So it was almost like a 2-for-1 kind of thing. And I got really serious about like getting the calories in, and it paid off, you know? So if you want to increase your lifts, my number one suggestion, or like the easiest way to do it, is just through calories and eating. Now, as we get later in the series, I will talk about why that calories at all costs probably wasn't sustainable, and I don't believe that's a sustainable way to do things, but it certainly gave me this first boost of progress that motivated me very deeply, because anytime you add 100 pounds plus to a lift in a year, you know, you're going to be highly motivated with that. The second thing, and really there were only two major things that I learned on this part of the journey, and well, maybe three. The second big one was starting to follow my own sort of program, right? So at this point, I started following 5-3-1, and it was very successful rather than coaches at high school. So I had to find my own way there, and I was very consistent and following the programs to a T. And then that was kind of topped off with just some technique refinement, right? So I was trying to get my walkout down a little bit more. I was learning how to brace, some of these fundamentals that we need to learn as a powerlifter, find out where depth is. My depth was much better. So we can go ahead and check out the squat here. You can see my setup's about the same as the 500-pound squat, still in the flat Chuck Taylors, but overall the depth is a little bit better. It's tough to tell from the back, but you can tell I'm being more, you know, focused on the brace and whatnot. But overall, the biggest change was training and diet. So hopefully that provided some insight. Thank you all for swinging by. Comment down below. Let me know, where are you on your journey for your milestones in the squat? As always, like and subscribe if you haven't. I deeply appreciate it. And until next time, happy lifting.